everyone. I thought something that I could teach that would be nice and simple for people to do at home. Welcome to my living room. Is just a general daily stretch. So if there's nothing else, if you just have like 10 minutes a day to stretch, it'd be really good to just kind of open the body. So we're going to first sit in this kind of a position. I'm going to do the best to create like a flag position, which is like 90 degrees. And then if you could just sit upright, sit bones to the earth, lift the crown of the head up into the heavens, and then just allow your spine to stretch straight for a second. And here's where we kind of separate into kind of Qigong stretching versus typical sort of stretching. Is I'm actually going to take my hands, I'm going to place them on a place called where the qua is, and it's right where the indian crease is, where the leg kind of connects into the torso. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my hands, I'm just going to hold my hips down, and then I'm just going to let myself start to rock forward and back. And so you'll notice right away, if you're not quite used to the Qigong, is that your legs will actually want to lift up and maintain the spacing between the joints. And what you actually want to do is hold the legs down and allow yourself to feel slightly as if the joints are coming away from each other. As I'm leaning back, the joints are kind of opening away from the body. And then a little more pronounced, you can feel it sort of from the side to the side. So as I lean my body towards your left, I can feel essentially sort of the hip is pulling away from the socket and the leg, and then the other direction. And I'm not doing this with force. I'm just simply allowing the weight of gravity to relax the body. So as you start getting used to the sensation of the joints pulling away, you just kind of notice this is different than if I do this kind of a movement. So this kind of a movement will lock the hip joint so that the space between the joints will stay the same, but you'll notice that the whole body is starting to rock. So what you want to do that is different is really keep the legs as much onto the ground as possible, and then let the torso almost be like a free rotating sphere. And if you begin to let yourself come around, you'll notice that it's almost like there's a singing bowl, and that your torso is, that's my dog, Obi. So he may just visit in just a little moment. But here we're just kind of coming forward and back. And if we first go counterclockwise, allow yourself to release your weight. So it's not that I'm really pushing. So with Qigong, what we want to be aware of is that our mind tends to want to control what the body is doing. So my mind might say, okay, I want to be really flat, and I want to like really show that I'm very flexible, and so I'm just going to push my body as close to the ground as possible. And that's actually not what we're looking for. We're actually looking for listening into the body. So one of the first principles of Qigong is to ting, T-I-N-G, which means to listen. And so if we are going to try and do internal arts, then we need to first listen inside the body. So essentially as I'm moving around, I'm feeling where the areas are tight as well as the areas that are loose. Oh, and here he comes. I dressed him in a little outfit. Off he goes. He's in a little, let's see. He's in a little stitch outfit just for you. Say hello. He actually dogs are very selfless that way, so he decided he was going to wear this outfit just to entertain everyone today. Yes. So he's going to sit on my leg now as we just kind of rock the body. So we should start feeling like the joints are loosening, like the hip joints, the leg joints are starting to loosen. And every time I go around, it's very much like I'm basting the joints. And then we're just going to come around to the other side. So coming to the other side, I'm going to have to take your seats there. I'm just going to do the exact same thing. So 90 degree, the foot, if you can, leave it slightly flexed. sits bones down. Try to feel the sits bones rocking a little bit side to side so you can feel like you're seated. And then just let yourself lean towards the foot. Lean towards the center. Lean towards the left. Lean towards the right. And lean back. And then just begin coming side to side. So this is probably the most simple form of opening of the hips. If you do have a little dog that is sat in the middle of your stretch, you will have to move around him. And you can also do somewhat like a butterfly. And in Qigong, our stretches are less precise. We're not looking for a tight angle. It's really just letting yourself lean forward. And he's really just soaking in all the attention right now because it's not quite so easy to be able to do this exercise. So we're just going to let ourselves lean to one side and lean to another. Just kind of feel the difference between the stretches from side to side. Also feeling into the hip joints. If you can, you would rock forward and back. But as I have a slight obstacle in the center of my body that makes it a little bit hard. We're going to try another stretch, which is essentially, there are 3 different forms. There's a small frame, a middle frame, and a slightly more difficult posture. So just, these are really good for opening up your hips. Now is also a good time to show you kind of the other stretch. So with the shoulders up, back, and down, you can also let yourself come forward and back. So in this, we are actually connecting all 3 centers. Thank you for opening the space. So if you do 2 fingers below the belly button in the center of the body, you could do a small kegel. That is essentially the lower dantian space. It's in the center of the body and essentially right up above the perineum, and 2 fingers below the belly button. The next one, if you find the bottom of your rib cage, is the bottom of your ribs, and you would go up 1 and 2, and right in the center of your chest, essentially 2 ribs above the bottom of the sternum, you have your heart center or the middle dantian. And the very last one, if you raise your eyebrows, you can kind of feel like a ticklish spot, typically known as the third eye. If you go through either side of the temple, it's essentially in the center of the head, and that is the upper dantian. So any movements, if you are pressing the hands together, lift the middle fingers up to the sky, you'll notice that that really helps kind of lengthen the neck, lengthen the spine, and then if you just allow yourself to gently tip forward and back, you're essentially connecting upper dantian, middle dantian, and lower dantian. At this point, center of gravity is even. As you sit upright, the 3 centers drop into the lower dantian, which is actually the hardest way for energy to run, which is downward or grounding. As you know, it's quite easy to get emotional or to overthink, and so the energy tends to kind of rise and reside into the emotional center or the kind of mental area of the mind. And so any kind of exercise that brings the center down lower, brings the energy down lower, will help us just kind of ground and calm. So I was going to show you 3 different phases of that opening the back of the hips. And one of those is really this nice little windshield wiper movement that gives a nice massage to the side of the glutes. And then the first frame, just really anything that allows you to place the legs on a side and really stretch or open the torso on this side. So this movement is actually opening. If you can move on over here, there you go. It opens this side of the hip. And what that's good for is that we just tend to not really use the side of the hips as we're walking or sitting in chairs. And so what we want to do is, you're blocking the camera, sir. So what we want to do is even this movement, of trying to pull the body upright, gently leaning the spine towards the left. That will help open this kind of C movement through the body. So this is the lower frame of that exercise. And what we want to do is begin to use the qua, which means my belly button, which is here. I'm going to do my best to turn it towards the floor, and then I'm going to take my belly button and turn it towards the ceiling if I can. That is going to help open up this qua. So the belly button, if I placed it here, is moving from the ceiling to the floor. And this is giving me a nice stretch in the back here. If you do notice that you are using more like your shoulders, you can see the belly button isn't really moving, but I'm moving my shoulders back and forth. So what you do want instead is the belly button to be turning towards the ceiling, turning towards the floor. So this is the lower frame. The middle frame sits essentially like a Z pose, which means the back of the leg is sitting on the ground, and this entire foot is also sitting on the ground. Try to back up so for a slightly better view. And in this pose, we would take the belly button from knee to knee. That is the foam, which I'm going to see. And then this one, belly button goes from knee to knee, so I'm just going to ignore that phone call. Side to side. And here I am again using this inangle crease. And please do note that the movement is coming from here, and that the movement is not stemming from here. So this is a shoulder movement, but the qua is not really moving. And this is belly button to the knee, belly button to the other knee. The last frame, or the more stretchy frame, sometimes it's easier for some people other than the others, is just to stretch out into this pigeon pose. So from this perspective, the knee and the foot are essentially parallel with the shoulders as much as possible. And now I'm just kind of gliding on this back leg, your left leg, if you're mirroring me. And I'm just going to get in this kind of a position and let myself kind of take my belly button from the bent knee to the straightened knee to the foot. Essentially taking my belly button from knee to the foot. So if you look at this area, it's essentially, I think I'm trying to create more space in those hips. I'm going to come onto the other side. And we'll do the same thing. 3 different frames. To come back, you can get into the Z pose. Sit for a moment, feel both sits bones down, let yourself sit upright. Bring both feet forward. Nice little glute massage, my favorite part. And then just come to the other side, whether your knees are bent. And remember, belly button facing the floor, belly button to the ceiling, belly button to the floor, belly button to the ceiling. So we don't care so much about tidy or neat poses. We really want to get the stretch inside the muscles. So this is the low frame. The medium frame is a Z pose with legs flat on the ground. Also, the rear leg is also flat on the ground. And sits bones is down. And in this one, again, sits bones down. Belly button reaches from the foot to the other foot. To the other foot. And the large frame. Knee and foot essentially parallel with the hips and parallel with the shoulders. And so here I'm just beginning taking that belly button to the bent knee as well as to the foot. You can also stretch forward, bent knee to the foot. Very good for opening the hips. And just let yourself do whatever you need to. You can also allow yourself to stretch forward. It may be difficult or a bit difficult to see. Let me do this sideways. And then if necessary, you can also Bend one of the feet and stretch yourself forward. On the other side, stretch the body long. If you like, bring the foot in, stretch the body forward. Hopefully this feels much better now that your body has been opened. This is just a really wonderful way to open up the hips and have a lot of flexibility. Whenever you're done, you can always do something nice and soothing. You can either just hold the knee and the foot and just really gently massage it. You can always do any of these exercises in a chair as well, leaning your legs to one side, stretching the hips on this side, or more easily visible in this direction. Any kind of movement, creating a C from your body on this side will also help. And if you want to do the cradling of the legs from a chair, that works as well. On this side, place the hand in your foot. Nice massage, loving your legs. And also, if you just think if you've ever gone to a physical therapist, it feels quite good when they're moving those limbs for you. So you can also do this in a chair. Of course, I prefer the ground. Less area to fall, I guess. So in this position, you can always hug the legs. If you like to, you can also open, stretch, back, the legs. A nice opening and stretching. Thank you so much for joining me today in my Open the Hips exercise and all your patience through my visit with my dog as well as the phone. But we did very nicely in continuing through and continued your exercises. Okay, hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.